so you're in that moment. Everything is projected for you before you even make your own plan. Before before puberty.
Yeah.
And so what's then the next? Like, give us kind of like.
Well, it just started that thing of like, okay, I've done that, so now that means, again, like where I'm going to go to school, what I'm going to study. So my music became, since I didn't even know what to do with this like full-time Christian service. What does that mean? So I'm like, wow, I really like music.
Still wondering if you have to go to Russia.
Well, I think I was still a little scared of that, but I think I decided, well, I have this music. I do have talents, so maybe, it also goes back to this kind of mentality too, which is kind of sick and sad. But like, oh, that's why God gave me these talents so that I can use them for Him and His glory. And so then it became, so I need to learn how to use music just for the church, never just for my own enjoyment,
right,
or for anything worldly, So that it just started that trajectory of constantly looking at everything through a lens of how is this going to help me minister to other people later.
Yeah.
And serve the Lord. And like I started taking some voice and piano lessons from a local teacher, and like I think she felt sorry for me looking back. It was in my young teen years. And when I was getting close to graduating from high school, she was pushing me for this like Methodist school down in Greenville, I think, or someplace like that, Illinois, someplace like that. And I toyed with it for a moment, but then I'm like, but I can't go there. That's not even a Baptist college. And,
right.
But I think she was like, maybe you could get out, kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think people realize like how much you are expected to live in this box.
Yeah.
Like there's anything outside that box, which you and I understand and being through it, know how we can quickly identify, well, that's a cult.
Yeah.
And we did so, but I don't think people realize that box that you're just expected to live inside.
Yeah, it's and honestly, it took me a long time to use the word cult because I'm like, well, and I think this goes back to just the way we were raised, or at least I was raised, and kind of brainwashed into thinking this is like, well, it's not that bad, and you think of they did do the, and you kind of like whitewash it, and and it really wasn't until some friends and I, some colleagues of mine, and some of my other related work, we started doing this. We called it cult lunch, and we would at lunchtime we would watch a short cult documentary, and just for the fun of it, just like, oh, let's see how these crazy cults live. But what
are they doing?
What started happening is I was going, that's a lot like what I grew up in. As I started watching, it was like, what I learned is that all cults are about sex, money, and power in some form. That's all they're about. And then they're always about getting you to not think outside of anything other than whatever it is they want you to think, and cutting you off from forces that might, or belief systems, people, it's always about that shutting off. And I started realizing what I was a part of had all the tenets of this. We didn't have a compound, but we were not encouraged to get out into the world. That's why you didn't go to movies, and we didn't watch TV, and you eliminate. We're very separatist. You eliminate all of those external forces. So the more I started watching these cult things, I was like, that feels an awful lot like what I grew up in.
Yeah.
We didn't have some long-haired guru, but we had preachers that didn't want you to even make a car purchase before consulting them, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yours was really strict in that capacity. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It was all, the preachers had so much power.
Yeah.
In their they were big fish in very little ponds.